This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of automated intelligence and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. We are ready for 200 laps here on this 2-mile oval. The green flag flies here at Auto Club. After a bizarre final round of qualifying on Friday, Austin Dillon is out in front after he led round number 2. He also led round number 1, so he definitely had a fast car in qualifying. Now time to see if he can keep that speed up in the race. Of course, being out in that clean air, that's going to help him a little bit. He quickly gets out in front of the Stewart-Haas teammates of Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola. The 3 car goes to the outside line. That middle to high line is going to be the preferred line. Although don't be surprised to see some drivers starting to duck down all the way to the bottom, trying to find a way to get around. Austin Dillon able to make his way around the racetrack and lead lap number 1. Our most recent winner in the Cup Series, Kyle Busch, was not able to make it 200 wins across the top 3 NASCAR series in yesterday's Xfinity race. Ended up finishing second after an errant pit stop and a penalty that sent him all the way to the rear of the field. Had to work his way up to the back up toward the front, but not enough to catch Cole Custer. But he's having a solid run here so far in these early goings. Eric Almirola is going to finally get to the quarter panel of Austin Dillon, find his way around him on the inside line. The 10 car is going to peak for the lead, but it won't take too long before Joey Logano, who's already won a race this season at Las Vegas, to get to his inside and try to work his way around for the lead. Chase Elliott just following behind Logano. Kyle Busch also taking that inside line. Martin Truex Jr. did not have a good qualifying run. He got knocked out in the first round. Could not make the top 24. Possibly got held up by the 51 car as he was coming around to make his good lap. That set him back further in this field. But it looks like he's picking it up a little bit. He's around guys like Daniel Suarez and Clint Bowyer. And now Chase Elliott has made his way to the front, and it looks like Jimmy Johnson's also there in second place. Kyle Larson coming in behind him. Chevrolet 1, 2, 3. And Johnson's going to try to make his way to the inside of his teammate. Looking for the lead, and he looks like he's got it. Hendrick having a good day at the front, but it doesn't look like that consistency is all the way around on that team. Alex Bowman and William Byron really struggling in these early laps. You can see Ross Chastain's trying to go around the 88 car. That's definitely not a car that should be competing with some guys in Hendrick equipment. Seems like they're going to have to make a few adjustments once they get to a caution flag if they want to stay in competitive position. A lot of guys at the front that we expect to see, but probably the underdog at the moment is David Reagan in 38. Front Row Motorsports really hasn't found a ton of good luck and fortune. They've had a couple of decent qualifying runs. David Reagan's been up there before, so has Michael McDowell. But in the race conditions, they just don't have the speed to keep themselves up there. Trying to see if 38 can get a top 10 here today. Ryan Blaney, he looked like he had a chance to win ISM Raceway. Unfortunately, fuel consumption and possibly just not having the best car on the track led to him finishing outside of the first spot. Garrett Smithley is going to be the first car to go a lap down in that 77 car, 23 laps into the race. The second time in that ride, and it seems like he held up the rest of the field, and Chase Elliott was the only one that got around him cleanly. But I'm assuming that the rest of the pack is going to have enough drafting power to get back to that 9 car. Here comes Brad Keselowski trying to give a push to Joey Logano. So far, it's only been 2 teams that have a victory on the season. It's Team Penske and Joe Gibbs Racing. Right now, Penske putting 2 of their cars up in the top 10. Ryan Blaney just outside the top 10. Here's a Joe Gibbs Racing affiliated driver, Matt DiBenedetto. I think a lot of people expected that LeMond Family Racing would get a huge boost being aligned with Toyota and JGR, but it looks like right now the chemistry just isn't there. They're still running pretty far back in the field around guys like Ryan Preece. Jimmie Johnson able to make his way back to the 9 car, trying to use that outside line to get the speed and the lead back. Johnson and Elliott looking for some good runs. They've run okay, but the way that Hendrick Motorsports has been this past year or 2 years, they are definitely looking for something better. And at the moment, it looks like the 48 and the 9 are leading that charge. Well, this might be an even bigger underdog story than David Reagan, who's still in this pack, but Corey LaJoie has managed to find his way through this draft and up into this top 10. Fighting around guys like Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin. And using that outside line, really working well. He did not have a great qualifying spot, but apparently he's found the way around this racetrack. Kurt Busch going just underneath his old ride at Stewart-Haas Racing, the number 41, now driven by Daniel Suarez, but you can see there is no one out in front of them, as they are going to have to draft with each other if they want to start making up some ground. Also in this pack is Ryan Newman. I'm sure he wants to take advantage of the new aero package, just as his teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is doing, to try to make the playoffs, but unfortunately, at the moment, he is just outside of the playoff cut, and right as he's running, doesn't look like he's really gaining anything. It's going to be a tough day for him if this keeps up. You can see Eric Jones, 1 career cup win coming at Daytona last July, trying to see if he can make it 2 as he tries to challenge Jimmie Johnson up there at the lead, and going in through turns 1 and 2, he's going to take that high line and try to get the momentum boost. No one to really draft off of, and no one behind them. The 20 car just has enough speed to make it by. Jones heads to the lead. We're hitting the quarter waypoint of the race right about now, and looks like Kyle Larson is going to try to make a move of his own to the outside. Doing it on his own terms, as he's got a little bit of help from Corey LaJoie back there, but at the time, Jimmie Johnson was drafting off of Eric Jones. That 42 car has got some speed, some serious speed right there as he goes to the high outside, and Jimmie Johnson trying to make a move to the inside of Eric Jones. But it looks like Johnson will actually be the first one to commit to green flag pit stops, leaving the 20 and the 42 out there, as well as the 32 of Corey LaJoie. So Johnson comes in, and now Kyle Larson will come in along with Chase Elliott. 32 still taking advantage of a great day that he's having. But Eric Jones will continue to lead the race. And as we cycle through those pit stops, you didn't even really see the next 2 cars flash by the screen. That means Jimmie Johnson has one huge advantage as they get off of the green flag cycle. Looks like the Roush Fenway teammates actually stayed out just a touch longer to try to take advantage of a little less traffic on pit lane. They did eventually come in just a little bit after the rest of the field. Now here's 300 cars all bunched up next to each other, but at the moment only one of those is on the lead lap. Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Alex Bowman now a lap down. Maybe they'll try to help Chase Elliott get back up to the 48 car as he runs second at the moment. And Kyle Busch, he didn't have a great pit stop. He was up there in that lead pack for the good while, but at the moment faded back and away from the draft. But it looks like Kyle Larson has managed to fight his way back up toward the front, and he's going to challenge Jimmie Johnson. Denny Hamlin also followed suit, and they both got by Chase Elliott before he was able to catch back up to the 48 car. However, Chase is right there, so definitely still in contention. The one that's kind of fallen off the draft is Eric Jones. We saw him contending for that lead for a while, and he's still in 5th place, but he has lost the draft and kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Also, pretty much with no help is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. You saw him and Ryan Newman take a little bit of a later pit stop, but unfortunately, they come out and no real help for the 17 car. Now looking from the back of Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott just in his rearview mirror, trying to keep him at bay. Also see Ryan Preece right here, trying to stay on the tail end of this draft. Pretty sure he's a lap down at this point, but he's had a few close calls. Barely missed an accident here in this turn right here with Brandon Jones. Trying to see if he can keep his car up to speed. Here's a couple of teammates working together from Stewart-Haas Racing. Daniel Suarez now looking to the inside of Eric Almirola. I thought they were going to help each other. Looks like the 41's going to try to take a position. Maybe swapping positions to get some air on the front nose. Keep the radiator cool. And now Kyle Larson trying to get to the back of Denny Hamlin and make a way around the Toyota. And they are side by side going through turn 4. Hamlin maintaining that momentum on the high line. But Larson still got the inside edge. Brad Keselowski has also started to catch back up to the field. He was someone that was a little bit further back in the pack, but he has caught up to Eric Jones, who had fallen off the draft. So now you got a battle for position here between the 20 and the 2. Keselowski going to try to take that high outside, see if he can get around Eric Jones, but it seems like if you're this far back from the lead, might as well try to draft off each other. Help each other try to get up toward the front, then you can compete. William Byron's kept up with this lead pack, which obviously this pack is not that huge, but considering that Byron was going a lap down at one point, now he's just trying to keep ahead of the leaders to maintain that lap. So in case if a caution comes out, he can try to stay on the lead lap. Here's a big developing story. Joey Logano, he was leading this race at one point, but he has had a problem with his race car. Something is chattering. He's reported a very bad vibration, but they don't seem to want to bring him in. But he is going a lap down at this moment. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson have gotten around him now. And this is just a huge problem for the 22 car. A winner already this season. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. also at risk of going a lap down. Denny Hamlin to the low inside. As Kyle Larson's starting to fade a little bit, but still on the tail end of this draft. Here's Kevin Harvick. He's right around Kurt Busch. These two guys, former teammates, obviously. Harvick just outside the top 10 as Kurt Busch is just within it. So those guys realistically fighting for a little bit of extra points, but they could work together and try to see if they can catch some of those higher up guys like Clint Bowyer, Austin Dillon just in front of him. Here's Brad Keselowski trying to work his way around Jimmy Johnson as he's caught this pack, including Eric Jones and Chase Elliott. Joey Logano is going to be the first one to come down pit lane. We reported his issue earlier. Going to see if an early pit stop will help him out in terms of getting that fixed. But here's a problem on the racetrack. Kyle Larson, something goes wrong. You could see that car just kind of broke straight. And something has gone down for him. Possibly a tire. And just barely kept that thing from heading up toward the wall. Now, if you're wondering how fresh rubber is on this racetrack, well, there goes Joey Logano. He doesn't look like he has a problem as he just zooms right by Kyle Busch, who hasn't taken a pit stop yet. This track is definitely worse for wear in terms of killing these tires, and once you put on fresh rubber, you can really get around this racetrack. As we see David Reagan, who's kind of been up in that good part of the race of the field, come down. Jimmy Johnson and Chase Elliott come down together, and here comes Denny Hamlin. He relinquishes the lead. But yeah, seems like the earlier pit stop might be beneficial for some of these guys. Here comes Eric Jones and Brad Keselowski down together. They had the lead at the moment. And then here's another example. Denny Hamlin is going to get back on the lead, but just barely sweeping around Corey LaJoie, who's trying to take a longer stint, and doesn't look like it's going to work out well for him. Hamlin also going to put Kyle Larson down another lap, as he is obviously continuing to have problems after he had that problem. He limped at the pit lane, but now it just looks like that car is underpowered, like it's missing a cylinder. Chase Elliott slots in the second place. Now here's a gaggle of Stewart-Haas cars. Along with Kurt Busch, you got the 4Ns in the 10 here. as well as Daniel Suarez. And once again, we take a look at Larson and his issues. He's getting passed up by B.J. McLeod and Darrell Wallace Jr. This is just awful for Kyle Larson. Back in his home state, this is not the performance that he wanted to put on. Meanwhile, earlier on, Kyle Busch was kind of in a fight to gain some traction. Well, now he's working his way underneath Jimmie Johnson. Now we'll put him in the top 5. At one point, I believe he was outside the top 10, lose without the draft. And now just barely squeezing by Joey Gase with William Byron on the outside. And now with Denny Hamlin out front, he doesn't have any help in front of him. No one to draft off of. He's really relying on drivers to push him. Ryan Preece currently behind him. And now Jimmie Johnson seems like he's a little slow as there's a 4-wide situation there. Clint Bowyer, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch. As now all 4 of the Stewart-Haas Racing guys are right next to each other. But man, Jimmie Johnson sliding back a little bit. Ryan Blaney about to go a lap down off of Denny Hamlin, driver that looked really fast at ISM 1 week ago. Not able to maintain that speed as one of those Penske cars going to go a lap down. Joey Logano, obviously a little bit further back than him. Brad Keselowski currently putting up the best performance of a Penske car as he gets around Chase Elliott for 2nd place. And now he's going to have to make a chase for Denny Hamlin, but he needs a little help. At least utilizing this aero package. And Jimmie Johnson definitely experiencing an issue here. He is going a lap down at the hands of Denny Hamlin. It seems like he almost has the same kind of problem that Joey Logano had. Unexplainable vibration, just something that's keeping him from going all the way that he can. And actually, we're hearing that he's having some problems with the brakes. So he's having to lift a lot earlier. And I think that's slowing down his lap times, especially in the corners, and then having to get back up to speed. Now Denny Hamlin, after getting around him, now he's got no help out in front. Gonna have to work a little harder. Brad Keselowski, though, he has a little help out front, but in general, it seems like this 2 car is just faster than the 11 as time and seconds are just ticking off. Here's Austin Dillon about to go a lap down off Denny Hamlin. I believe Dillon's running 11th at the moment, so that would make 10 cars on the lead lap with all of those Stewart-Haas guys within the top 10. And now Kyle Busch has made his way around Eric Jones, as well as Chase Elliott. He's up to 3rd place. He's putting on a charge just like he did in the late going of the Xfinity race. Trying to see what he can do, even if it's in tough circumstances. Brad Keselowski trying to get a draft off of a Ford teammate Ryan Newman, as well as Matt DiBenedetto. Every second is going to matter in terms of getting back to the 11 car. Jimmie Johnson's going to be the first one on pit lane, just like with Joey Logano, trying to diagnose the problem early. And as the 2 car continues to turn laps, that gap is shrinking. It is down to just over 3 seconds. You can see the 11 car way in the distance. And as we go a little bit further down the race, now you can see him very clearly just behind the 11, as well as the 47, who's kind of been his pusher throughout this race. Those 2 leaders are going to come down at the same time. So it's going to be a race off pit lane, and if they stay close enough to each other, this is going to be a real battle to the end. Kyle Busch stayed out a little longer, ended up leading a lap. Now he takes his 18 down. Meanwhile, Hamlin and Keselowski have not lost each other. They came off pit lane pretty much equal to each other. But look out, Denny Hamlin gets around the 52 of B.J. McLeod, but Keselowski does not. And the 11 with a huge advantage through turns 1 and 2. And that gap is going to have to be made up once again. We haven't talked about Corey LaJoie in a while. Well, that's because that whole underdog story kind of turned him back into his normal running position. He's back there in the 20s. Doesn't seem like that good luck kept with him, and he has fallen back to about where you'd expect that Go Fast racing machine to run. Well, the good news for Denny Hamlin, he can't see anyone out of his back, and he's getting a little drafting help as he now tries to put the Stewart-Haas Racing guys 1 lap down. Almirola already down. Kevin Harvick, a bit of a surprise to see him running so relatively poorly. Can't really say that when you're running in the top 10. And there's a problem for Eric Jones in turns 1 and 2. The engine expires as he's running in 4th place just behind his teammate Kyle Busch. And all of that great run that he was having all goes up in smoke as he takes it down to the apron on the racetrack. But there's going to be a caution flag because of it. It comes several laps after the engine blows, but NASCAR finally reported that there was oil on the racetrack. They could not take the risk to keep cars going out there, especially on the groove that it was. And Daniel Suarez and Kevin Harvick stayed on the lead lap, beat the 11 car back to the line when that caution came out. So we've got a restart, just under 10 laps to go. And this is a huge opportunity for Brad Keselowski to get back to the 11 after getting blocked up by the 52. Going into turn 1 in this lap. Look at him squeezing by Eric Almirola and Garrett Smithley. Right up the middle of the gap. In a 3-wide situation. He is definitely going for his second win of the season. But so is Denny Hamlin. These two have already won. And it seems like they're the only ones that can win in this situation based on how far everyone else is behind them. The 2 car to the inside of the 11. Takes the lead back from him through turns 3 and 4. But heads up, coming back through turns 1 and 2. The 11's got the outside line. And a little bit of a push from the 14, trying to get back on the lead lap. That 11 car will find his way back to the lead and putting a little bit of a gap on the 2 car. And you can see from Kyle Busch's view, not really much of a chance he has at catching those 2 front guys. But he's currently 3rd and still in contention for a good spot on the day. Keselowski in a little bit of traffic. But he's trying to work with this Ford on his outside. That's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. We are approaching the white flag. And in fact, the Roush Fenway teammates are kind of boxing the 2 in, but they're trying to get him a draft on the outside line. These are some Fords working together to try to beat the Toyota. They go to the high outside. They can't quite line up to each other, but the 17's leading the charge. 6 is trying to help push, and they're getting a little bit of a run off the outside. Keselowski to the side of the 11 car, heading into turn 3 and 4. Stenhouse out in front, trying to help the 2 get the draft, but the 6 goes to the inside. And he's kind of helping the 11 car out. Gives him a little arrow push. And for the second time this season, Denny Hamlin crosses the start-finish line first to win the race here at Auto Club Speedway after a Daytona 500 victory. Brad Keselowski so close, had a good charge there, just could not keep that momentum going through the turn and not even on that high outside line that he could make it go to victory lane. So here's how the final results stacked up. Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch comes home in 3rd, Chase Elliott in 4th, and the other Busch brother, Kurt, in 5th place. Only 7 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Newman was right there trying to get that lap back, but he was at least trying to get the help to the Ford teammate. Just didn't hold on to it. Not even sure if that charge would have actually made the difference the way that the 2 car was going through the turn. Couldn't quite catch up to the draft of the 17. Ryan Blaney and Austin Dillon just outside the top 10. Joey Logano seems like he made a huge comeback considering where he was in the second stint of the race, falling all the way back, getting lapped. But considering that I believe he was in the 20s at one point in this race, a 13th place finish is a great one for him. David Reagan, we saw him up front for a solid part of the day. He ends up in 15th, a solid and respectable finish. Jimmy Johnson had those issues a little later than Logano, and he ends up in 19th. Corey LaJoie looked like he was going to have a breakout day, but he ends up in 23rd place. Alex Bowman was way outpaced by his Hendrick counterparts. William Byron actually ended up there in 14th, but Bowman back here in 27th. And what a heartbreaking day for a couple of drivers like Kyle Larson down there in 34th, and Eric Jones blowing the engine and having to drop out of the race. That is it for this episode of NR2003 Predicts. We hope you enjoyed today's race, and we'll see you next time.